Welcome to Conversations with Sarah. I'm Sarah Reddan Therapeutic Coach, and today I'm joined by Lorraine Maguire, Rapid Transformational Therapist. Welcome, Lorraine. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So would you like to give a little bit of an introduction into yourself and what it is that you do for the people that are listening?
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. I'm a rapid transformational therapist, which includes hypnotherapy and multiple techniques, a bit of neuro-linguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a therapy that was developed by Marissa Peer, and I trained with her in London, and I use RTT for short, Rapid Transformational Therapy. I use RTT to help people overcome things from their past, so that empowers them to transform their lives and live the lives that they want, basically. So if they've got something in their life that they don't want, I can help them to be free of it. If they've got something in their life that they can't seem to get, then I can help them to get it, basically.
Perfect. So I wanted to have a little bit more of a bit of a chat about the hypnotherapy side as well, if that is okay with you. So can you explain from your perspective what hypnotherapy is?
Yeah. So I explain like hypnosis first. So hypnosis is a relaxed state of awareness. So I like to explain to my clients, it's like talking to me with your eyes closed in a very relaxed state. So it's a state of awareness where we can talk between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So a lot of the time we're operating habits, behaviors, things in our lives that are run from the subconscious that we picked up in childhood, from the ages of 0 to 7, we're basically in the brainwave of hypnosis. And so, we're absorbing all this information, and now we're out there living, the programs. So to me, hypnosis is a really relaxed place where we can tap into the subconscious and we can use that as a channel to then do therapy. So when people are in the state of hypnosis, the hypnotherapy side of it is then changing the thoughts, changing the beliefs. You can do regression hypnotherapy. So when you're taking them back to, where did this issue start? Where did this behavior first come about? What is the habit of thought that's driving the habit of action that we can see? I often use making the bed as an example, because I don't make my bed every day. My partner makes his bed every day. He has less time than me in the morning. I work from home, right? I can make my bed any time of the day. But so in my childhood, I got programmed to make the bed in a certain way. And for me, it was painful as a child. No, it's not real pain, but right. I didn't like making my bed. And so I said things like, when I'm old enough, I'm never going to make my bed, and I hate making my bed. And so then I left home, and I then go out into the world and I don't make my bed. Now, under hypnosis, I could go back and I could probably see scenes where I made these decisions, and I can upgrade those beliefs, and I can say, I love making the bed. I want to make the bed. I love getting into a nice, clean made bed, or changing that. So that's the kind of like the changing, the therapy side. Hypnosis is the channel into the brain.
And I think that's a really wonderful way, a really easy way of explaining it. And I laugh when you shared about the bed, because I also don't make my bed, because for all the reasons. And who wants to spend time doing that?
I know. And now I think the new research is that you should fold the bed back and air the bed now anyway. So,
we're just progressive. We were ahead of the times.
That's right. We were ahead of the times for sure.
So tell me a little bit more about how you came across RTT, the Rapid Transformational Therapy.
Yeah, so in 2017, I was 16 years clean and sober from drinking drugs, but I was back in the overeating. So all my life I'd been up and down from size 8 to 18, everything up to 104 kg, down to kind of like 62 kg in my adult life. And so I was back in the overeating. I turned 40 in 2017, and I just spiraled down. I didn't like my life. I was in an exceptionally stressful corporate job. I was having panic attacks. I had been on and off antidepressants for 16 years for severe anxiety and panic. Things were kind of just managed, like I wasn't like, yay, my life is great. But I was getting lower and lower and lower, and I was back eating 3 or 4 ice creams a day, and I'd I'd lost the weight doing different things. I'd done 100K walks and gone to gyms and had personal trainers and all sorts of stuff. And the weight had gone down, but it just would come back every single time. It would just, come back, and then more so.
Yeah.
So I turned 40. I'm back in the excess weight. I was up around 90 kgs again. I feeling miserable. I'm trying to get my food under control, working with a few friends, even just messaging what we were eating on a daily basis, doing different things. And a couple of people sent me a YouTube video of Marissa Peer. And it used to be called "The Biggest Disease Affecting Humanity is the Belief that I'm Not Enough." I believe she's changed the name of it recently, but I clicked on it the first time and thought, oh, who's this, and closed it down.
Yeah.
And what happened was I had done a skydive for my 40th birthday, raising money for the SPCA. And, everyone would have thought, wow, what a great thing Lorraine had done. But I was just going home and eating and still feeling miserable. But even the day of the skydive, it was amazing. It was the best skydive I'd done. And it was so cool. And then I came home and sat on the couch and just ate and ate and ate. And it was like, what is going on? And so I went to bed this night. I'd had 3 ice creams. I'd had a whole box of scorched almonds, the almonds covered in chocolate. And I felt so sick, and I couldn't lie on my back because my stomach hurt too much. I couldn't lie on my side. My stomach hurt, on my stomach. So I was kind of in the fetal position. And I think I kind of called out to my higher power and was like, something's got to change. I can't go on like this, or something like that. And at 3:30 in the morning, my cat woke me up crying in the house. I sorted her out, and then I got back into bed, and my head was just racing. I'm 40, I'm fat again. I hate my life. I hate my job. I'm stressed. I'm single. I'm childless. I've been single, until my recent relationship, single for 11 years. And I thought I need something to turn my head off. So I turned YouTube on again, and there was Marissa's video. And I watched it, and I had this amazing aha moment where I was like, oh my God, I didn't ever believe that I was enough.
Yeah.
And I'm not enough alcoholic. I'm not enough drugs. I'm not enough smoking. I'm not enough food. I could see how it all led. Either feeling not enough created the addictions or compounded them.
Yeah.
And so I got up. It was like 4:30 in the morning, and I started making a vision board in my lounge. And I binge watched her videos one after the other, just kept finding more of her videos. And I stopped overeating without even any hypnosis. The next morning at 5:30 a.m., I had my last ice cream, and I did some of the techniques that she talks about with the power of the mind. And I was like, oh my God, I don't need this anymore. I can see that why I'm eating is because I don't feel like I'm good enough, and all of these things. And then I got to a video that said, you can do what I do. And I was like, I can do this. And I knew in my gut that this is what I was meant to do. And so that was in April 2017. In June 2017, I was in London training with Marissa to become an RTT therapist. Wow. It literally was that quick. And it was the first time in 40 years I made a decision. I went to the bank, I got a loan, I did all the things, I got time off work without talking to anyone. I didn't talk to any of my 12-step sponsors. I didn't talk to any of my mentors, my family, no one. I booked it all. I decided I was doing this without any input from anyone because I just knew. I was like, this is what I'm meant to do.
And that's what it feels like as you're talking. It feels like it was that pivotal moment of knowing that not only were you enough, but you were enough for you, and that you could bring this in for other people and help other people with that same transformation.
Absolutely. And I hadn't even had any RTT at that point. I hadn't even had any of the therapy, but I still knew that this is what I was meant to do. I didn't have my first full session of RTT until I was already in London training.
But isn't it?
I just knew.
It just shows how powerful kind of that the mind is, that just that tiny shift in perspective opened up an entire way of thinking for you that for 40 years was not there. And it just shows how amazing that the mind can be. So then when you sit alongside a practitioner who knows what they're doing, I don't even have the words. It's like
I know it's like
the energy of it.
Yeah, one of the things that Marissa did in one of the videos was she gets you to eat an imaginary lemon. And I was like, when I close my eyes, I can't even see the lemon, right?
Yeah.
But I did it anyway, even though I couldn't see the lemon. And I started like, my mouth started like, salivating and going, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not even eating a lemon. And that's when I had this amazing understanding of how powerful our thoughts are.
Yeah.
The thought was I was eating a lemon. My body
Yeah.
responded as if I was eating a lemon. And I was like, how have I not known this with all the therapy I had done until then, with all the mindfulness courses, meditation courses, 12-step courses? I was like, how have I not known how powerful my own mind is?
Yeah.
And it was a real aha moment for me. And it was really funny because she says as well, like she tells a story about getting someone to write I am enough on his mirrors and stuff. And she does it with lipstick. And I thought, right, I'm going to do this. And then my mind was like, oh no, your handwriting's not even good enough. And I was like, what? My handwriting's not even good enough. By the end of that day, I thought, no. And I got my whiteboard markers out and I wrote, I am enough on all my mirrors. And it's still written on all my mirrors today, and I just thought, I don't care if my handwriting's not neat enough. I'm doing it.
But isn't it interesting how we sabotage ourselves, how our mind can take us to that place of, like, you were ready to take control, to take movement, to sort of really kind of tap into the power of that I am enough. And your mind was like, but come on, really?
Yeah.
Really though?
Yeah. And then that's it. And I teach my clients that when the mind objects, to bring those objections in, so it's like, I'm enough. No, you're not. You're wearing glasses. That was one of mine as a kid, 4 eyes, teased for wearing glasses and stuff. And it's like, I'm enough even though I wear glasses. I'm enough. Oh no, you've got terrible frown lines on your forehead, Lorraine. Well, I'm enough even with frown lines on my forehead. Bring those things in rather than trying to go ignore them as if they're not there. No, they're there. I'm enough even with all of those things.
Exactly. Yeah. It's connecting the dots, isn't it? It's embracing all of who you are and being able to be, you are enough.
Yeah.
With whatever else is going on, you still are enough.
Yeah. And that's for some clients, it'll be I'm enough. Some clients, it'll be I am worthy. Some clients, it'll be I am lovable, or I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. Like, I use with my clients the words that their mind says. Recently I had a client who's had multiple sessions with me and under hypnosis, and she's like, and I feel this because, and she's like, because I'm not enough. And she went, really? Still that one? Like, because it's so deep within so many people. These negative beliefs, which are just not true. They're just picked up sometimes from really, it doesn't have to be trauma, it can be just somebody saying something like my messy handwriting at school. Boom, my handwriting's not enough. I'm not enough. Doesn't have to be trauma.
I recently shared on a podcast that I guested, one of my struggles to doing the podcast was every school report I've ever had was that I talk too much. So when it came to doing something that required me to talk, it was difficult because I didn't want to talk too much. But I'm doing a podcast, I need to talk. So it's like there's a real conflict in between. I've got, I really want to help people bring a voice forward, yet I'm sitting in some fear of using my own voice. And I've been doing the podcast for months before I picked this up as I was talking on another podcast, like, oh yeah, that's one of the things that's gone on for me in this journey. And it's like, I'm trained in therapists similar to you, and so we've done all this training, and still we have moments, or I have moments of there's a little limiting belief there, just pulling me back a little bit. So it's
and that is a huge strength now, that talking too much, right? Like to change that, to go, well, all my reports cards said I talk too much. They should have been saying, this is your strength. Talking's your strength. And I say that to myself now, because I talk too much. I know I do. Sometimes I can see people kind of like phasing out because I'm talking too much, and I'm like, but I've just embraced that as part of who I am.
It's how I learn. I learn by talking, by having these kind of conversations help me tap into my understanding of the world, and I process that by talking out loud. I talk when I'm on my own. If I'm working through something, I talk when I'm on my own, and it's like, well, that's okay. It's for me, it's useful. It's okay.
It's a huge benefit. I teach people to talk their stuff out loud. So like if I'm talking to a weight loss client and they say, if you're standing in a cafe, you might not be able to do it out loud, but if you're at home, you know, like, I mean, mine's like, ooh, banoffee pie. I've never had banoffee pie. You know, I get them to say out loud, yes, I can understand why you'd want to have banoffee pie because you've never had it before. But, you know, it's very similar to other pies you've had in the past. And actually what you want even more than the pie is to be slim, fit, healthy, active, you know. So actually I'm choosing those things over the banoffee pie. If you can do that, and you might have to do that in your mind if you're in a cafe, but if you're somewhere where you can do that out loud, it's so much more powerful.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
a real strength.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's similar to one of the things that I do with negative talk, kind of answering it back almost and telling it. Some of my clients, we use quite strong swear words in response to those negative things that are being said, because they're not true, are they? Like it's just stuff that we've picked up. And so, I mean, we're talking about the mind, but what else do you feel that you've learned about the mind on your journey?
I think for me, the most incredible thing I've learned is how the mind is just like a computer. You know, so it is a computer running multiple programs all at once. Like, it's amazing. It's a supercomputer. It's running the dishwashing program, the making the bed program, the eating program, the work program, the relationship program, the health program, the wealth program. So many programs are just running all of it at the same time. Some are good and really healthy, and some not so good. And just like we can program our, you know, we update the software on our laptops, on our iPhones, on our watches, like my swim watch, you know, why wouldn't we upgrade the software in our mind? You know? And so for me, I don't look at it as like, oh, I'm a bad person acting badly. I just go, oh, I've got a program that needs to be upgraded or deleted. And so, you know, using RTT and hypnotherapy, looking for those programs, and then we just reprogram the mind. And all of my clients get a hypnotic recording that starts to rewire and reprogram the mind. And it's like, so if something's going on in my life, and like you mentioned just previously, you know, still working on ourselves and still seeing limiting beliefs crop up, I go, okay, well, that's just another program that needs a bit of rewiring, you know? And so I just have to find the root of the program to find out where it comes from. Blocks to success is like, you know, one of the ones that I've recently been working on, because the more successful I've got, it's like, oh no, scary, you know, because oh, if I'm successful, you know, people might not like me, you know. So it's about upgrading those constantly. And so that really helps me to have compassion as well for other people, that they're just running a program. So if somebody's mean or critical, you know, I can just go, oh, they've got a criticism program running somewhere that's been programmed into them. You know, a judgmental program. You know, they may have learnt that, you know, when they were younger, and they don't want to be like that necessarily, but it's just a program that they're running. And so rather than seeing them, oh, that person's so horrible, you know, it's like, oh, they've got a program. And some people are more aware of their programs than other people. But, you know, like I say to my clients when they come and see me, if you could type into Google, what is the root cause and the reason for what would you put? My overeating, my weight, my anxiety, my depression. What would you type into your Google mind? Because it's all in there. Like, we might not remember it, but everything is stored in there. Everything we've done, seen, heard.
And I think that's a really powerful way of looking at it as well. So when you start thinking about it in that way, it's not your personality. It's not a personality trait. It's not who you are. It's just kind of something I guess the way I want to put it is, it's something you've learned to do one way that you can unlearn and learn a new way.
Yeah. And so many people go, I have an addictive personality, or I am an addict, or, you know, I am an alcoholic. I don't say I'm an alcoholic or I'm a recovered alcoholic. I say I choose to be drink-free, drug-free, smoke-free, gluten-free, and 90 to 95% sugar-free now. You know, like, I don't, because anything that follows I am follows me. Like, one of my friends once said to me, you know what, Lorraine, every time I see you, I say, how are you? You go, I am tired. And so how did I feel all the time? I felt tired all the time. So if I say, you know, I'm feeling tired today, that's a bit different to I am tired. So, you know, it's again those programming words. You know, this always happens to me. I'm never gonna find love. Well, then you're programming your mind to never find love, to always have that happen to you. So, you know, the more I've learned about the mind, the more conscious I've become about programming language.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's that it's reinforcing, isn't it? You're using the language to reinforce that belief, and but tiny shifts in the language can really change and impact your experience of the world. The way that we use language and how tiny subtle differences can make a difference in your experience of the world and the things that you're going through. So you have talked a little bit about sort of how you've used RTT to transform your own life. How do you help it, or how do you use it to help others?
Yeah, so clients come and see me. I've seen, hundreds of people for weight loss, self-esteem, lovability, lack of confidence, anxiety, smoking, drink, drugs, and so when a client comes to see me, I have quite an in-depth pre-client form. I also send them a pre-hypnosis so that their mind gets used to my voice. And then in a session, once we've decided that Google question, what's the root cause, I put them into hypnosis. I regress them back somewhere between 3 and 6 scenes they'll go back to. What's a real thing for me is when I first trained, I don't clearly see images. So I'm like, I don't go back and go, oh yeah, I'm in my bedroom, or I'm in the kitchen, or I'm at school. Like, I can't clearly see it. So what I've learned is that some people see visual memories. Some people will hear things, like I'll go, you can hear what they were saying, click, click, and then they'll repeat verbatim what they heard. And they might be 2 years old, but they're now able to tell me what they heard as a 2-year-old. Then once we've seen the scenes and seen, what are some of the beliefs that were created when they were young, just even like going back to the cot and not being picked up. Oh, I'm not lovable, because if I'm crying in the cot and somebody loves me, and people think that's a bit much, like you go back to the cot. People do. They go back to that young. Our mind has recorded in everything. So going back to lots of different scenes, trying to see, because it's not what happens to us that hurts us the most, it's what we make it mean about us. So the fact that mum and dad were arguing maybe doesn't hurt you so much, but it's the fact that you go, oh, I'm powerless to stop it. I'm always going to be powerless. I don't have a voice. Nobody listens to me. I'm not safe. I'm never going to be safe. Those are the types of things that you're looking for in a client's mind to see what's happening now. How's that creating? And then you get them to see how their mind had these experiences in the past and how now it's causing their experience in the present. And then lots of different techniques to help clear those beliefs, upgrade them, bring them into the present, get their mind to see, I'm not a 5-year-old. I'm actually like a 35-year-old, a 45-year-old, and then at the end of a session, I always do them their own personalized hypnotic recording that they go and listen to every day for a minimum of 30 days. I get my clients to listen to it, and then regularly thereafter. And so that then rewires the subconscious mind and starts to put the positive stuff into the mind. Like I listen to one pretty much every night that I go to bed. I've got a couple on a playlist now, and I fall asleep to them every night. I'm rewiring my brain constantly with the positive stuff that I want to experience. And that's what I help with my clients. And then they've got that tool, that hypnotic recording, as well as anything else I've taught them, for life. So they can, anytime if they have a wobble in the future, put the recording on, listen again for a week, but a lot of people will have the transformation if they keep going. It's the same thing as learning to drive a car. You keep going until it becomes unconscious, and I just get in the car now and drive. I don't have to think, oh, hang on, seat, pedals, mirrors, gearbox, or anything like that. I just get in the car and drive. So you listen to it until you get that transformation. And, some people have had huge success in one session. Many people are kind of like 1 to 3 sessions per issue, so 1 to 3 sessions for anxiety, 1 to 3 sessions for weight loss, 1 to 3 for depression. They're more at the 3. I've only had a few clients that have needed more than 3 sessions per issue. And that's when it's been multi-layered or very deep trauma that, that they may have blocks and things. So I basically help them find the computer programs that their mind is running, and either delete them or update them to what they want it to be. And then I use the client's words in the recording as much as I can, rather than, if the client says I'm not worthy, then the recording says I'm worthy. If the client says I'm not lovable, then the recording says I'm lovable. I use their words as much as I can, rather than creating my own.
Yeah, because that's so powerful, isn't it, to be able to reflect back the alternative perspective of their own their own words, their own, to use your words, unwanted programming to redo that programming.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
like I will ask a client under hypnosis, what it is that they want in place of that. If there's a part of them that's been making them anxious and that part has wanted to protect them, that's a good thing. It's a good thing that they've got this part of their mind that wants to protect them. So how could this part protect them without making them continuously anxious and having panic attacks every day? Could this part help them to be confident and believe in themselves and to know that they can do it, and to have an altered attitude that says, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, rather than I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. If I don't know, like if I'm struggling with the client, I always ask the client more and more questions, because the answers are all within each of us. We know what we want.
Yeah.
If a client says at the beginning, I say, what weight do you want to be? What size do you want to be? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I put them into hypnosis and I say, I'm the part of Sarah and I know exactly what she should weigh, and a number will come.
Yeah.
So
I'm completely alongside you with that, because I truly believe none of us are broken. We don't need fixing. We all have that part of us, that voice inside of us, that inner knowing that knows exactly how things need to be in our greater good for us to have our most joy and live our best life. Just many of us have lost touch with that voice, and just a little bit of being kind to ourselves, a bit of inquiry can lead to that reconnect, and that's where the power lies, sort of that that reconnection, that self-compassion, that self-love, that being able to tap into that is where the power lies with all of these therapies, I think, very much.
Yeah, and even with this therapy and how powerful it is, and how like the rapid part is you can rapidly see where things were created, but transformation still takes time. Like I've got a friend of mine who talks about it like, if you break your arm, the surgeon sets the arm really quickly, but you've still got the time in the cast, and then you've got the physio and everything afterwards. So that transformation takes time. And it's the same thing as you might clearly see in a session, oh my God, wow, that's what I created. But then the unlearning can take a little bit of time. And sometimes I'll even have a client that, when their higher self, the inner knowing says, this is what you should do, they even resist that because part of them still wants to eat the cake, or part of them doesn't want to do the exercise that their mind is telling them to do. And in that case, I can't make anyone do what they don't want to do. That's just time and willingness, and maybe sometimes people need a little bit more pain before they go, okay, I'm going to do the change. I'm going to do the things, because we all know in us what we need to be doing. What we don't know is these programs that block us, and that's where I can help, because I can help you find the program that's blocking you, either delete it or update it to a current program, and then run a new one, and then send you off on your way and running the new program.
Yeah. So interesting. I mean, I feel like I could kind of sit here and talk forever and ever about it, and especially like kind of diving into where we've got similarities in the way that we work. But I think that probably would be very interesting to me, and maybe not just everyone that's listening. And I am also noticing kind of the time. So if this feels like an okay time for you, does this feel like an okay time to bring it to a close? Is there anything else that you would like to leave people watching, listening with, as they go on about their day?
I think for me, one of the things that I think I learned in a 12-step group is don't leave before the miracle happens. And, I always say, don't give up before the miracle happens. If you're doing positive affirmations, if you're listening to a hypnotic recording, and you think it's just not working, what's the point? Just keep going, because that's what I learned. I was a huge, like when people would say, do affirmations and talk to your inner child, I was the most negative, cynical person against it. And I have to put my hand on heart and say, I have had a complete transformation, because I love affirmations now. But the thing is, repetition and consistency. Get in the mirror, stand in the mirror and say, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough. Even if it's for 1 minute of a day, it's more than I did it before. And then try and get to 2 minutes. Consistency, repetition, keep going. Don't give up before the miracle happens, because it will happen if you keep going. You learned to ride a bike, you learned to drive a car, you learned to do Excel spreadsheets, or whatever it is that you learned to do, with patience and practice. And so I don't say practice makes perfect, I say practice makes permanent. So the more you practice it, the more it just becomes permanent.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to make myself do it because it's a permanent part of who I am.
Perfect. And I would echo that. It's those small, consistent steps that lead to the big change. So keep making those small, consistent steps.
Yeah. Keep
Because,
listening to the recording, even if you
yeah,
fall asleep and you don't think you're getting any benefit from it. Just keep doing it, you know?
yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lorraine, for coming on and talking with me and sharing some of your story and how you work with clients and the things that you do. And to people that are listening, thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Find out more about me and my guests at srtt.co.uk or follow SRTT Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new guest. Until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.